Welcome everybody, it's really nice to see you, nice warm faces, and welcome to 10 Years East. But we wanted, before anything else, just to acknowledge the terrible, awful, cruel madness that's going on in the world at this moment, as we speak.
Exactly, this is why 10 years ago we started a storytelling group called East, and we three still leading it. What do? We tell stories of our East End, about the people who has got diverse background and their heritage, with a focus on actually to finding the similarities and to create the harmony.
So we've been going for 10 years. We actually started here at Rich Mix with some workshops in the basement and a performance. We've worked with various different groups, Numbi Arts, Somalian group, Bishwashanta Kendra, UK, community of refugees in Vietnam, lots of different individuals. Yes, that has brought us to this point. I have one little bit of housekeeping, which is if anyone doesn't want to be filmed, they need to let us know at some point discreetly before you leave the building. But I think we're now ready to start.
I think we are. And I'd just like to say that the theme of Season of Bangla Drama and our theme tonight is love.
Love.
In all its forms.
So, we are starting with one of our in-house storyteller, Farah. She is going to share a story with you, which is from Abrahamic religious text, sacred to three religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Farah is going to tell you the story of Queen Shiva, she was called Bilqis, and the Prophet Solomon. Ladies and gentlemen, Farah.
So here I am with the story. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a prophet called Solomon. Solomon was a ruler and a king, and he had armies consisted of men, jinn, and birds. And among the birds, there was one bird called Hubba, which is hudhud. Hudhud in Arabic was his personal messenger. What happened? Solomon was reviewing his army, and suddenly he sees Hudhud is not present in his court, and Hubbu was responsible for bringing water for the armies. Solomon got really angry, and he said, "Why don't I see the Hubbu? Is he of those absent? I will slay him. I will severely punish him, or else he should come to me with clear excuse." Then there was silence. Not long before, the Hubbu comes flying and panting. He says, "Majesty, here I am. I have come from land of Sheba with tidings. I saw a woman who has got wealth, beauty, and power. And she comes from the land of Western Arabia, ruling over Ethiopia and Yemen. She has got abundance of wealth. And she is very beautiful, has got dark, glossy skin, and she's been considered one of the beautiful women of the world. But what I found, that's the only territory which is not under your rule. And also, Queen Bilqis and her people, they don't worship God Allah. They worship the sun god. Hearing upon that, Solomon got very distressed. He became distressed and sad that how can a whole kingdom get lost in worshipping the sun rather than the one who has created it. So what he did, he thought of sending a message to Queen Bilqis through Hubu. So Hubu took the message to Bilqis. And when Bilqis received the message, she became very suspicious. She thought that Solomon wanted to control her territory and also wanted to get hold of all the wealth she has accumulated. So what she does, to test Solomon, she decides to send splendid gifts, golds, silver, and valuable spices. So in that way, she could test whether Solomon was really interested in her wealth and controlling her territory. But you know what happened? When Solomon received all those gifts, he was not at all interested. He rather got disappointed and was very upset, and also felt disheartened that why would somebody send him the wealth when he himself has got the wealth of wisdom, wealth of knowledge. So when Bilqis heard that Solomon was not at all interested in her wealth, so to her amusement, she decides to visit him. She decides to see the king Solomon by her own eyes so she could test him more. So she makes a long way journey. In meantime, what happened in Solomon's court, one of the jinn, if you remember I mentioned that Solomon had armies of jinn. So one of the jinn said, Majesty, how about we bring the throne of Bilqis to our kingdom before she can arrive? Within a second, even before Solomon could say something, the throne of Sheba was in front of Solomon in his court. Why? Because they wanted to surprise Bilqis, and the throne was in disguise for her to get revealed. So when Sheba comes, as she steps in, she sees the throne, and she's startled to find her throne. Then she realized that definitely this king has got power, supreme power, to bring it in. So as she's still surprised, so she walks in. And when she just walks in towards the palace, there was a shimmering glass which just shines like water. So thinking it's water, she lifts her skirt. The moment she lifts her skirt, she gets surprised more Because then she realized, no, it's not like auto, it's glass, and it's shining. And then Solomon said, oh, the queen, Bilqis, you can step in. Please welcome to my palace. So she walks, and she's in surprise. She's in awe, but still she's suspicious. So what she does, when Bilqis wants to test Solomon more, and then he asks him a question and gives him riddles to solve. But without much difficulty, Solomon could solve all her riddles. And she was impressed with Solomon. So was Solomon was impressed with her wit and intelligence. And then Queen Bilqis gave glory to Solomon's God, Allah. And she gave up adultery and gave herself to one God. And she returned back to land of Sheba with the religion. She bore Solomon's son, Menelik I, which is the foundation of the dynasty of Ethiopia. The moral of the story is, look for greatness. And the second moral is, sometimes two people get connected by heart, not in beauty, not in wealth, not in power, but the spiritual affinity between them make them come together and love each other. Thank you.
This is a freilich. A freilich means a happy tune. And this tune is obviously, or maybe not obviously to some people, it's a Jewish tune, and that tune came from what is now the Ukraine. But we have a story, a Jewish story, that also comes from Eastern Europe, but this comes from another place, which we might hear about when John Heinemann tells us his story.
When my mother was a little girl, until she was 6 years old, when sadly she passed away, of my mother, her Bubba, her grandmother, Rachel Haskelovich, who came from Belarus, from the city of Mogilev. And Rachel used to sell bagels in Pettigrew Lane Market. She'd buy the bagels and bake them and sell them there. And she told my mother a story about somebody that she knew back in the shtetl outside Mogilev, who was also called Rachel, or her friends called her Rachel, which is the Yiddish version. And Rachel was a peddler selling buttons and cotton and beads and ribbons and things, all the things for the lady of the house to make fine dresses and so forth. And, oh, before I begin, I hope you all know your Aleph Beits. You all know your Hebrew alphabet. You only actually have to know 2 words, 2 letters for this story. a dalet, and a resh. A dalet makes a d sound, like David, and a resh makes a r sound, like rabbi. And it's very important not to mix them up. You can see they look very, very different. Because if you mix up a resh with a dalet, you might say Dabai instead of rabbi, or Ravid instead of David. So just to help things out, I want you to we'll try this out. Could you just raise the dalet when I say dalet, dalet? And when I say resh, raise the resh, dalet, dalet, resh, dalet. So I was hoping for some small, agile children in the front row. We will have to make you a man. So one day, Rachel, which begins with a resh, well done, decided to go to a different village, a little bit away from her usual territory. And she knocked on the door, and an elderly lady opened the door, and she said, "Can I help you?" And Rachel said, "Yes, I'm selling my wares." And a bit suspiciously, the old lady said, "Where are you from?" And Rachel said, "I'm from the village just outside Mogalev." And the old lady said, "Really? Who is the rabbi there now?" And Rachel said, "Our rabbi is David Gleichman, a fine man." "David Gleichman," said the old lady. "I remember him when he was a little boy. He came from this village. When he was such a saintly boy, when he was 6 years old, he was already studying the Torah in the study house with the rabbis. You know, one day, such a perfectionist, one day he mixed up a dalet with a resh, and he was so upset, he ran home, went to his room, and he stayed there for 2 hours. What a wonderful boy. He must be a wonderful rabbi now." Well, Rachel loved this story. And as she went back to the village, she thought, if I tell this story, maybe it will interest my next customer. She might buy a few more things from me. Maybe I can make the story a bit more interesting. So she knocked on the door of the first house. It was a friend of hers called Rivka. She said, "Rivka, have I got something for you? I have something to tell you about our rabbi. When he was a young boy in such and such a village, he was in the study house and he mixed up a dalet and a resh, and he went to his room and he didn't come out for 2 days." Well, Rivka loved this story. Later on, she ran into her friend Sarah. She said, "Sarah, guess what I heard about our rabbi? When he was a young man in such and such a village, he mixed up a dalet with a resh, and he went back to his room and no one could get him out for 2 weeks. Well, Rivka went home that day and spoke to her husband. Her husband was a cobbler. He was working hard. And he said, "What is it you want?" She said, "Guess what I've heard about our rabbi." "Don't talk to me about our rabbi. He doesn't buy his shoes from me." And no, listen what I said. Listen what I said. Our rabbi, 2 weeks ago, was in the study house and he mixed up a dalet with a resh. What do you think? What do you think? Well, Shmuley happened to go to the tavern that night and was sitting at a table with his friends. And he thought, maybe somebody will buy me another drink. He said, "Guess what I heard about our rabbi? Buy me a drink and I'll tell you." Well, very soon the story was around the whole of the shtetl, the whole of the little town. And that Sabbath, in the synagogue, it was full. Everybody was talking, everybody was whispering. As Rabbi Gleichman came up to the pulpit to give his sermon, and he looked at them and they fell silent for a moment, and he said, "You have heard this week, as was read from the Torah, the law from which we derive the rules of Lashon Hara, that you mustn't speak with an evil tongue. it says, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16, "Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among your people." And, he said, looking at one of the young boys, "Do we know the Hebrew word, who is a talebearer?" The little boy said, "Rachel," which is the word for a talebearer. But as soon as Rachel heard that word, she thought he was talking about her. She thought he had said not Rachel, but Rachel. And the rabbi said, "Yes, we shall not go up and down as a talebearer, as a Rachel." And he stopped for a moment. He said, "Or should I say, Dachel?" And everybody laughed, except for Rachel, who felt terrible. Not only have I spread this rumor, and it wasn't my fault, about our wonderful rabbi, but he knows it was me. Rachel went home that night, and she couldn't sleep at all. Every time she started to fall asleep, she dreamt she was in Gehenna, in hell, and the demons were torturing her. She was facing the punishment for all slanderers, to be hung up by her tongue. When she woke up in the morning, as the lights rose over the town, she ran to the rabbi's house. And even though it was only just dawn, the rabbi opened the door before she even knocked on it and said, "Rachel, I've been expecting you." And Rachel said, "Rabbi, Rabbi." She fell on her knees. She said, "Rabbi, Rabbi, I'm so sorry. It was me. Please forgive me." And the rabbi said, "Rachel, of course you will be forgiven. I will just ask you to do one small thing to make teshuvah, to repent. All you have to do, tomorrow, when it is market day, buy a feather pillow. Cut it open on one side and empty out the feathers." Oh, Rachel thought this was crazy. But Sugar, she thought, why is he asking me to do this? But if this will get me forgiveness, I will do it. So she went into the marketplace the next day. She knew a merchant who could give her a good price on a feather pillow. Not the cheapest, not the best either. And she stood in the middle of the marketplace with this feather pillow. People turned to look and wonder what she was about to do. And with a pair of scissors, she opened it up and shook out the feathers. They swirled around in the wind. The children were laughing, chasing the feathers. Everybody was pointing at her, thinking she'd gone crazy, but she did not mind because she knew she would be forgiven. She ran back to the rabbi's house, holding the empty pillowcase. And the rabbi was again outside his door, waiting for her. And the rabbi said, "Well done, Rachel. You have done well. But just one thing. You need to bring back the pillowcase with the feathers inside. You need to put them back in again." "But Rabbi, how can I bring the feathers back? They're all over the town." So it is with your words. What comes out of your mouth, you can't so easily take out. You can't so easily take back. So be careful what you do with your words. And as my mother's Buddha said to her, when you're wondering whether you should say something or not, sometimes it's better keep boom.
A story from Eastern Europe, from Belarus. You're from
Belarus, yes.
Yes, but of course, Jews come from all different places. And the Jews of the Mediterranean, of Spain and Portugal and North Africa and Greece and Turkey, they have a different way of speaking, a different way of praying, and a different type of music. And there is one song which is Yo me enamoré d'un aire. I fell in love with an air, with a melody. Or did I fall in love with a person who sang it? Io me innamoré d'una ire, la 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 la, innamoré d'una mujer, la 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 la, innamoré d'una mujer, oi 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 oi, ah.
To the Indian Ocean and Mauritius, where we are going to play a type of piece called Siga, which is improvisational, based on this drum rhythm, and singers improvise over it, though in this case it would be instrumentalists.
Favor. If I shout twice, saying story, story, on the third time, can you join me as loudly as you could, saying story? So I go like this. Story, story.
Story.
Story, story.
Story.
Exactly. This is now the story time. And it is the story time about Sultana's dream. Sultana's Dream is a feminist utopian novel written, goodness me, long time ago, 1905, by Ruqya Sakawat Hussain. It was written in a way that in modern days, when you think about it, you'll get surprised. It is actually about women, about environment, and about nature. Ruqayyah Sakat Hussain was a Muslim, a feminist, a woman, an educator, an environmentalist, and a reformer. Can you imagine that? We can't. But our in-house storyteller, Tasneem Siddiqa, has reimagined it. And she's going to share her story now. Sultana's Dream by Tasneem.
Sultana was falling asleep in her chair. It was a starry night, and she could hear the street vendors outside. She was dozing off, but she thought she could hear the voice of her friend, her dear friend and companion, Sister Sarah. She then started thinking lazily about the condition of Indian womanhood. A Hijra woman walked in. Hijra, for those who don't know, is a person of third gender. And she took this person to be her friend, Sister Sarah. So, Sister Sarah invited her to go for a walk. It was late. But she thought, yeah, let's go. I trust my friend, we'll go for a walk. She went outside and noticed that the streets were paved with flowers. It's beautiful. She stopped feeling self-conscious that she hadn't covered her head, that she was still wearing her nightie. She was barefoot. She then heard a passerby say, "Look at that woman walk. She walks so funny, like she's got a tail tucked between her legs." Another passerby calls her mannish. She turns to her companion and says, "Mannish? This must be a joke." Her friend tells her, "Yes, it's because you are walking timid and shy like a man." She then realises that there's only women and girls. Everywhere she looks, she's outside the house. She's in the streets of Sylhet, or she thought she was, and there is not a man or a boy to be seen. Where are they? "I thought you knew," Sister Sarah told her. "This is Ladyland." So, where are the men? They are cooking and cleaning and taking care of the children. They are hidden away in their rightful place. In their rightful place? Yes, women are much cleverer than men. I don't know how in your land I hear that you let men out untrained. So, how did this happen? Surely the men are not happy to be hidden away. Was this always the case? No. I'll tell you what happened. Do you guys want to know?
Yes.
Many years ago, 30 years ago, our queen, she inherited the throne. She was very young. She was only 13. And she was a queen only in name. She didn't actually have any power. That was, for men. The Prime Minister is a man. So she was fine with that. That's the society she grew up in. But she said, can I have one thing? I have one request. The women must have education. The Prime Minister said, fine, if that is your one request. And so they let her, as long as it was separate from men, they had, they did so well, and they went from strength to strength. And eventually they had their own universities, and they were really just, with technology, going the distance. And soon enough, they had learned how to yield nature to their sort of command, their wishes, by respecting it. They, for example, learned how to take the water out of rain clouds and take out the rain from the sky and use it for water, like drinking water and things that were useful in society. And there were no more monsoons and terrible storms. They showed this to the men. The men weren't interested. They thought, yes, we've got more important business. We are growing our army. We are investing in our military. So the women were patient. The men didn't recognise their intelligence, their progression in technology. And eventually there was an opportunity. Some people who were fleeing from their land, they came to our queens, to our country, looking for refuge. The Queen, being kind, let them stay and welcomed them and treated them like they were her own citizens. The king, from where the refugees came from, demanded them back. They had committed some kind of political crime or another. The Queen refused, and so war arrived on our doorsteps, and the men, they've been building their military, and so they go and fight. They fight bravely. All the men go out and fight, the boys have to go out and fight, but we're losing. We lose terribly. And the men were growing fatigued and tired, and the women and the girls left back home had to just watch this happen. And so the Queen called an emergency meeting and said to all the wise women, the principals of the universities, and some of the smartest of students, they had a meeting and they decided on what to do. And so the Queen went back to the Prime Minister and said, I have a deal for you. If you let us go to war and we win, then we must swap our roles in society. And it is you that will be confined to the Zanaya, and we will run society. They were so weary and tired from war, and they didn't think it was really possible. So they said, fine. And the women went, the students went, all the female students, the principals, they went to war, and they had created something else. They had collected the heat and the light from the sun, and they shone that to the enemy. And the enemy were blinded and terrified, and so they ran. They ran away, and they never came back. And the women burnt the weapons too. And that is how we come to be here. Because the men had to stick to their agreement. And they also realised the value in cooking and cleaning and caring. They saw society was being run better than the women, so they had to. And that is how we come to be where we are now. Sultan had lots of questions, they had conversation for hours. And eventually she felt herself slipping away. And she was back in nighttime Sylhet. And she wondered to herself, what's the point of this utopia? She mulled this over for a couple of minutes, and then she made a decision. She called to her friend, Sister Sarah, who responded, and she said, we're going to set up a school.
The word is Maya. This word can mean so many. 1, Maya is illusion. 2, Maya is affection. 3, Maya is kisses. 4, Maya, when your nose meet to someone's nose with full of affection. Honestly, it is the Sylheti culture. And who else can portray this in a song, apart from our own Shah Abdul Karim?
Bondhe maya lagaise, pirite shikhaise. Bondhe maya lagaise, pirite shikhaise. Devana banaise, ki jadu khoriya. Bondhe maya lagaise, ki jadu khoriya. Bondhe maya lagaise. Bondhe maya lagaise, pirite shikhaise. Bondhe maya lagaise, pirite shikhaise. Devana banaise, ki jadu khoriya. Bondhe maya lagaise, ki jadu khoriya. Bondhe maya lagaise. বসে ভাবি নিরালা, আগে তো জানি না বন্ধের পীড়িতের জ্বালায়। বসে ভাবি নিরালা, আগে তো জানি না বন্ধের পীড়িতের জ্বালায়। হায় গো ইটের ভাটায় দিয়া কয়লায় আগুন জ্বালাইছে। হায় গো ইটের ভাটায় দিয়া কয়লায় আগুন জ্বালাইছে। দেওয়ানা বানাইছে, কি জাদু করিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে। কি জাদু করিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে। পাগল আব্দুল করিম ভুলিতে পারি না আমার প্রাণে যারে চাই। বাউল আব্দুল করিম ভুলিতে পারি না আমার প্রাণে যারে চাই। হায় গো প্রাণ বন্ধে পিড়িতে আমায় পাগল করেছে। হায় গো প্রাণ বন্ধে পিড়িতে আমায় পাগল করেছে। দেওয়ানা বানাইছে, কি জাদু করিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে। কি জাদু করিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে। বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে, পিড়িতে শিখাইছে। বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে, পিড়িতে শিখাইছে। দেওয়ানা বানাইছে, ফুলিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে কি জাদু ফুলিয়া বন্ধে মায়া লাগাইছে
A famous Bangladeshi song, to another song which is equally as famous but in a different mood. This is, in fact, a song of protest, but it is rendered as a lullaby.
You can sing with us when we are going to sing.
Coca-Cola, Parajurayo, Murgieno Deshe, Bulbulite Tankete, Kazurageno Deshe,
Panturayo, Panturayo, Hajinalo Baiki. Our Kotadin Shobur Kore, Noshur Munechi.
Coca-Cola, Parajurayo, Murgieno Deshe, Bulbulite Tankete, Kazurageno Deshe.
We are celebrating our 10th year. It's a celebration today. But we came here with a heavy heart because one of our core member, our in-house storyteller, Ruby Hawk, left us. Ruby is not here with us today, but she is in our hearts. And that's why we have dedicated this show to our dear Ruby Hawk. Dear Ruby, wherever you are still in our hearts. Take you to Bangladesh, a tiny village. It was a hot summer day. Inside a little hut, there was this old, frail, and fragile, skinny lady, a grandma. She was sitting with her 2 dogs. And they are called Ronga and Wonga. Can you say? Ronga and Wonga. So, she looked at them. She was so hungry for so many days that she couldn't bear anymore. What she thought? She would do something about it now, and she said, "Dear Ronga Bonga, listen to me. I am going to go to my daughter's house. My daughter is an excellent cook. She is better cook than Nadia Hussain of BBC. So once I go there, she's going to feed me so much, and I will be very strong, Ronga Bonga." And they said, "Grandma, Grandma, in the jungle, over the hills, there are ferocious animals. They might eat you up." "I don't care, I will go because I want to see my granddaughter and my daughter." All right, we'll look after your house." So she fetched her stick.
And she set off, tick-a-tick, tick, tick-a-tick, tick. Here I come with my walkies. Tick-a-tick, tick, tick-a-tick, tick. Here I come with my walk. Ah! And then she saw in front of her an animal which had 4 legs, and it had a coat which was an orangey red, and it had a big bushy tail, and it had a pointy nose and whiskers, and it was a
Fox! Oh my goodness!
You're right.
Fox! Oh, please don't eat me, don't eat me. And the fox said, "I want to eat you. I want to eat you. I want to eat you now." The grandma thought, "Please look at me. I'm short and I'm a skinny lady. I haven't got anything left for you. I'll be so chewy. I will be tasty. Let me go to my daughter's house, as I told you, didn't I? She's going to feed me all those lovely food. Delicious. So, can you wait until I become fat and come back to you?
Are you sure?
Just over here. Will you wait?
Are you sure?
I will grow so many layers of fat tire around my body. I'm going to be so yummy and juicy for you."
So off she went. Tick-a-tick, tick, tick-a-tick, tick. Here I come with my walking stick. Tick-a-tick, tick, tick-a-tick, tick. Here I come with... No, you don't, lady! There was an animal, again, with 4 legs. But this animal had stripes. A white stripe, black stripes, and orange stripes, and sharp teeth and whiskers, and its claws, and it was a...
Tiger!
Yes,
I
you're right.
got it. I got it. And the tiger was even more what?
Hungry.
Absolutely scary. And the tiger said, "I want to eat you. I want to eat you.
Good tiger.
I'm going to eat you now." Do you know what lady said?
What did she say?
I understand she gathered some courage, you know. I mean, she could own one.
Okay.
So she said, No, please don't eat me. She just repeats, "Look at me, I'm a skinny old lady. I haven't got any flesh left in my body. Let me go to my granddaughter and daughter's house and let me have food and come back really fatla and watla. And you'll be so happy to eat me."
Father and Butler.
Yeah.
Are you sure? So off
She went.
she went. Tick a tick tick, tick a tick tick. Here I come with my walking. Tick a tick tick, tick a tick tick. Here I come. Another animal with 4 legs, but this animal, with its 4 legs, it didn't stand on 4 legs. It stood on 2 legs, and it had big arms. It had a big thick neck and a big thick head. Brown fur. What do you think it was? It was a
Bear.
Oh, they rather good.
Was she one?
It
A
was
scary one, sir.
very scary.
Do you know what she did now?
Well, I think I can imagine because she did what she did before.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So all that. In fact, tires. Yeah, okay. So
This time she said, "Just get ready with your clothes, shut them up, because I will be so yummy you couldn't wait to eat me up."
So off she went, and you know how she went. She went.
Tickety-tick, tickety-tick, here I come with my walking stick. Tickety-tick, tickety-tick,
Here I come. And the gates broke open, and there was her daughter. Have a cup of tea, mummy. Ooh, so she had a lovely cup of tea, and then the daughter fed her. The daughter gave her this, the daughter gave her that. Meat pies, vegetarian pies, vegan pies. To fit all the possibilities.
And good booty.
Oh, good booty.
Yeah.
And she had all the good booty. And she had so much good food. And she had lovely galam jalam. And she had rhubarb pie, and she had custard, until there was
You
one
name anything.
spare tire, 2 spare tires,
And
3 spare tires.
And she couldn't even move.
She couldn't move. So what did she do? She went
To her daughter.
well, she was already at her daughter.
Yeah.
But the daughter said, come to the garden, mummy, and look at the pumpkins. They went to the garden, they looked at the pumpkin. There was a big pumpkin.
Huge
Let's
one.
let's cut the top. Let's take all the stuff outside. Mummy, get inside. Oh, you'll have to wait a minute. Oh. She
Yes.
was so fat she got in there.
Well done.
And the daughter went, push, and it started to roll.
Pumpkin started to roll. Pumpkin started to roll. And she was so happy. She started singing. You can sing with me. Puri bari gasilam. Puri bari gasilam. Gur muri khasilam. Gur muri khasilam. Potla oya aisilam.
Back into that bear, and the bear said, what's this? And the bear licked it, and the bear sniffed it, and the bear pushed it this way, and the bear pushed it that way, and said, I don't like this, whatever it is. It's a round, big, round, orange thing, push, and pushed it on the hill, and again it started to roll and sing.
This time, she was so happy. She has done one. She could do it again, and she was happily singing. Puri bari gasila, gur muri hasila, botla oya aisila.
What is this? Said the next animal, which was a
Tiger.
well done.
Oh, yeah.
Some people forget. And the tiger said, what's this? Licked it, sniffed it, pushed it down the hill. Don't like it. And it started to roll again.
And singing again, 1, 2, 3. This time, faster.
Booty.
Puri bari gasila, gur muri hasila, botla oya aisila. One more time. Gasila, gur muri hasila, botla oya aisila.
I can hear some singing from inside here, said the fox. And the fox said, I think you're in there. And by now, that pumpkin was so distressed from having rolled down the hill that the fox said, I think you're in there, and gave it a huge kick, and the pumpkin disintegrated. But she could see before the pumpkin disintegrated, she was near her house, and she thought, aha, I have a trick to play on this.
Absolutely. And she thought she is going to make it today. She remembered that Ronga and Bonga just over there. And foxes are scared of dogs.
But the fox saw that she was already rather fat, with 1, with 2, with 3 spare tires, and said,
So
I'm
she
so
had
hungry.
to do something about it. She said, are you sure you can eat more than 1 like me?
Well, I mean, you look rather delicious yourself, actually, but I think I could actually, yes, I think, is there another one of you?
I can arrange.
Well, yes, I could eat the double of you. I could eat as much as you can get.
Okay, give me a chance. Let me call them.
Off you go.
All right? You remember the name of the dog? Ready, steady, go. Ronga! Woof, 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 woof. Bonga! Woof, 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 woof.
And as we know, I don't know whether your fox is as frightened of dogs, but mine are. And off the fox went. Thank you very much.
So now we have a mini tour of the British Isles with two folk pieces. The first is the Glasgow Reel, so you can guess where that's from. We have a folk song that's had various different versions and different parts of the British Isles. It's sometimes called The Water is Wide. It's also known as Oh Whaley Whaley, amongst other titles.
So The Water is Wide is the first line, just in case you're wondering what it's called. It still could be called Whaley Whaley, but anyway, we're not white. Let's do it. Maybe somebody has an answer, I don't know. The water is wide, I cannot get on, nor yet have the wings to fly. Give me a boat that will carry two, and both shall roam, fly, love, and love. Put my first it's new, but as it grows old, it waxes cold, then fades away.
Which represents a veritable wealth of nations. Hassan, Andy, I always get to this point because I've known him 10 years. Oh, and Michelle, I do this. Even my mother, I couldn't say this in my mouth. Anyway, and Michelle, and in no particular order, we represent England, the Jewish world, Mauritius, China, England, Bangladesh, and now another story from me. Are you ready for another story? Have you got enough? Oh, story. So, this is a Jewish story, and it comes from Marrakesh, or Marrakesh. And this is the story. Ayazin, she sang to him, and he sang to her. And they were so much in love that very soon they were married. And very soon they had a beautiful house. He was quite wealthy. There were beautiful carpets, there were beautiful drapes, there was silverware. It was a wealthy place. But this was a house of love. And the more they loved, the more love came into the house, because a little baby was born. And then another baby. And then there were twins. And already, in a very short time, they got 4 children. But the children kept coming. And as the house filled with children, it seemed to empty with all the wealth that was there. The carpets, the drapes, the silverware, things slowly disappeared. Until they had to move into a smaller house. There were already 9 children. 9 children in that small house. And, well, another child was on the way. As the children came and filled the house became empty of furnishings. Now this child was born, and as soon as this child, a boy, the 10th child, as soon as this child was born, they knew straight away there was something special about this child. And as he grew, they could tell. He seemed to know what other children didn't know. And he was so witty, so clever, so intelligent, they called him Berg. Or, because that was the language that was the general language. They also used their language of Hecate, a bit like Spanish, and they would call him El Bendito, or in English, the Blessed One. And the Blessed One helped his brothers and sisters, helped his mother and father, and was so good to them and could always tell them something that they didn't know. And he often got his way because he was so clever. Until one day, he looked around. He saw there was no food in the house. And he said to his father, "Khudni ila suq al-abid wa na'li." What? What did you say? Llévame al mercado de los esclavos y véndame. If you don't understand, I'll say it in plain Jewish. Take me to the slave market and sell me. Because if you don't, 12 mouths will go hungry. And the boy had his way. And the father, with tears in his eyes, took his son to the slave market. And when they got there, he negotiated with, obviously there was a slave trader here who seemed to have rather good-looking young people, because obviously they were going to the fancy houses. They weren't going to slave in the fields, as happened in our country, the UK, let's not forget. Anyway, so there, the father took quite a lot of money And as he walked away, with tears in his eyes, he suddenly, go, I'll be okay, go. And the son, the little boy, El Bendito, the blessed one, Mubarak, he suddenly realized what had happened to him, what situation he put himself into. And to cheer himself up, he started to sing. Passover was coming, so he had a Passover song in his mind. Aman, 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 el Dios bendito nos da mazal. Aman, 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 el Dios bendito nos da mazal. Purim, lano, pesa, a la mano, las matzas si están cociendo, las chapriquis si están cociendo. Aman, 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 el Dios bendito nos da mazal. Aman, 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 el Dios bendito nos da mazal. People had stopped and people were looking at this little one. And out of the crowd of the people came a man dressed in rather good clothes. And he went up to the slave trader and he negotiated. And he gave to the slave trader 5 times more than the slave trader had given to this boy's father. He talked to the boy and he knew immediately this was something special. This was a chacham, a clever one, somebody who knew things. And he knew that his master, the Pasha, the Sultan, the king, would be delighted with his little slave. And indeed he was delighted. The king would go nowhere without his little slave. The king demanded that the slave eat with him. They walked in the forest, they walked under the palm trees, the date palms, the nakhil. He was so delighted with this little clever one. He learned from this little one. How old was this boy now? Was he 9? Was he 10? However old he was, he taught the king lots. And so everyone was very happy that the king was happy with this thing. And they thought, why don't we get him another little present? They went to the market, they got a little girl. And the king, the Sultan, said to the little boy, don't you think she's lovely? Don't you think my new slave is lovely? Isn't she clever? Doesn't she sing well? Indeed, she is lovely, and indeed she sings well. And of course, as you see, you would know that she was brought up, she was born from elderly parents. How do you know that? Well, just go and find out where she was born from. They did that. All his servants were sent to find out. And when they went to the door of the house from which the girl had come, an old man came to the door, and his wife huddled behind him. And they were old. And when they questioned the old man, they said, yeah, we couldn't look after her. We don't work. We didn't have money. We couldn't. Yeah. But we see that you are from a good home, so we're very pleased that she's found a good home. Well, the king was amazed that this child was right. And he said, but how did you know? And the little Bendito said, well, haven't you noticed, when she gets up, she pushes herself up from a chair. No child needs to do that. She's learned it from her parents. Wow. Another present was given to the Pasha, to the Sultan, to the king, to the Malik. So many names, because he was all these things in the great red city of Marrakech. And this time it was a mare. A beautiful black mare. Don't you like my beautiful black mare? Look at the sheen, yes, and those flanks there. Absolutely glorious. And this mare, as you might have observed, was brought up by a she-camel. How do you know such a thing? Why don't you go and get people to go to the stables and find out? Yes. The mother, the mare who'd given birth to this little foal had died. And the little foal looked at the camel, and the camel looked at the little foal, and before long, suckling away at that camel. How did you know this? Well, haven't you seen that this mare is always stretching her neck as if she's trying to remember? He was amazed, but Malik said, I'm going to think of a question that this boy cannot answer. He knows everything. How does he know this? He's truly a blessed one. He's the Bendicho. He's the Mubarak. But I'm going to ask him. He took the boy for a walk through the Nakhil, through the beautiful date palms, where the air was cool, and they walked, and the king said, "No, you know, in Morocco there are many different types of peoples, many races you might call them. There are the Slugh, there are the Sus, there are the Rafiya, there are the Gnawa, there are the Arabs. Of which race am I?" "Oh, Ya Moulay, oh dear, my dear sovereign, you are indeed a great sovereign. You are Jewish." "What? You are Jewish? Get out of my sight! Don't be angry with me. Please, ask your mother. Okay, I might see you tomorrow, but get out of my sight." The first time he'd been angry with his little clever one, the king went to his mother. "Mother, who am I? What are my origins? Who is my father? What am I? Have you been telling me lies all this? Who am I? Tell me." "You are, of course, your father's son, and you're in the line of the royalty. You're a father's son. Your father is your father. You know the king who died, and you became the king." "You're lying to me. Tell me, or I will swear I'll have your head cut off." And now she knew that she had to come clean. 12 years we'd been married. I hadn't given birth. And of course I'm a woman, so it was my fault. But it happened that the king wasn't able to conjoin with me and create a child. And so I saw every day the fine, young, Jewish baker who worked in the kitchen and baked the most delicious sweetmeats. And I invited him to my room and commanded him to stay the night with me. And you are the result of that happy union, in order that the royal line, can continue. Once more, the boy was right. And when he saw the boy the next morning, he said, "Indeed, you are right. I am a Jew." And then suddenly he said, "But you won't tell anyone, will you?" And the boy said, "Have I told anything against you all the years I've been with you? I will continue to be as confidential as I have always been. There is no word I will say against you. You asked me and I told you. I know, I trust you. But now, I'd like to give you a gift. Anything, what would you like?" And of course the boy said, "There's only one thing I need, and that is my freedom to return to my family." And even though the king was disappointed that his little Bendicho had to leave, the boy left with a camel train laden with gifts, in order that that family would no longer be poor, and that the boy would grow to be a man, and he would also inherit the wealth that had gone with him. And that is the story of El Bendicho.
We are almost at the end of our evening together. We're going to finish with a Yiddish song called Tumbalalaika. We've been doing this song, and also Koko Gomara that we did earlier. Those two songs we've been singing as a group right since the beginning of East. So it feels fitting to end with one of those. So do please join in on the chorus. And here we go, Tumbalalaika.
Steht am Bochen, steht und Tracht an ganzer Nacht. Wenn man zu nehmen und nicht verschämen, wenn man zu nehmen und nicht verschämen. Zumbala, Zumbala, Zumbala. Wachsen, wachsen ohne Regen, wo's gebäcken und in der Fähren, wo's kann weinen, weinen und wehren. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalai, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalai, 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 fröhlich soll sein. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalai, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalalai, 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 fröhlich soll sein.